Hey guys, Curious Hobbyist here. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to show you guys another 32-bit app. This is Marble Arena 2, a move and jump marble game with many levels. The one that I found the coolest was Space, Just One More Frontier. It also has a level editor. To use it, simply choose Create New Level from one of these three tabs. Then it has options. First, select the level size. For instance, the game measures in cube shapes and cube sizes. The default unit selection size is about the marble size. The smallest option, 10, is 64 of those on all three axes, X, Y, and Z. The lower half of it is solid, so the ground is exactly the midpoint, and each increase in size doubles it. So 11 is 128, and it's an increase in all three axes. So that means it's multiplied by 2 on all three axes, width, length, and height. So that means it's 8 times the overall unit size. Then choose the level type. If you choose flat level, the lower half is solid and fully flat on top. However, once you choose Generate Terrain, there's a bunch of settings. However, it will take longer to load the level. It does depend on these settings, and of course, level size. The 12 option is only a few seconds to generate. However, I then chose 15, and that means 2048 units on all three axes, so that will take quite some time. And at least 4 times longer for 16, and I mean quite a while. I split this part out before saving the recording. Once done, here's the result at my setting choice. However, for some strange reason, all of the blocks here are 4 cubic units. I do remember doing this before, and that time, I didn't have this result. However, that was on our old Mac, so it may have something to do with that. Also, the 12 level I just made did not look like this. Once the level is loaded, you may be in edit mode or play mode. In play mode, the marble spawns and you have control over it. Now press the E key to enter edit mode. Then, use the keys you're used to moving with in play mode. This will move your view around the world space. To rotate, use the camera orbit controls or move the mouse. Now for shaping. Firstly, click on a cube or drag select multiple. This selection will end where you let go. Then, you can use a scroll wheel to push or pull it. You can even use a magic mouse today. However, here's one advantage of a physical wheel. At least on the one that I used to use, you can actually feel the wheel ticking, and I found that each of these ticks pulled or pushed a selection 1 unit. So that's interesting and helpful, as you can feel the pulling distance without seeing the selection, unless you lose count. In that case, just go and look at it, even if you're too far away from it to see it. Move to it if needed. And how did I come up with that scenario? How would you get into that? You would have to do that on purpose. It just adds an extra spatial sense on top of the visuals. Anyways, you can also vary the size and power of your selection. Hold down the G key and use the scroll wheel. That way, you're now able to multiply or divide your unit selection by 2. Dividing it can help you to create more detailed shapes. However, increasing it can help you to manipulate a level. Like for instance, when you want to make all the level hollow. Here's how the maximum size works. Pushing or pulling selections is blazingly fast like this. However, we're now going to pull the same selection with minimum unit size grid power. Or try to anyway. As you can see, it lags here for several seconds, and it wasn't even pulled 1 unit. That's because this selection is 16 times larger in units. This is useful knowledge for making sky levels. Here's how to do it with huge levels. Make one, go to edit mode if you start in play mode, and then select and pull the center 4 units slightly. Then press the N key to open up the new entity options. I'm going to get to more of those later. Now, bump up the power up time, and then select Ultra Speed and Ultra Grip. Now enter play mode, collect them, and move diagonally to a corner. Re-enter edit mode and crank up the grid power with G. If you don't, you won't be able to push or pull the following selection nearly as fast. At this point, do not enter play mode again. Move diagonally in edit mode to the other end. Also, do not click or scroll along the way. Otherwise, you could end up selecting something, overriding your current selection. Fortunately, the Ultra Speed power-up does increase edit movement speed. However, you can't change it manually. Isn't that what editing is? Creation, not gameplay at all. There's no cheating in edit mode, right? Anyways, you'll have to go twice as far this time without the Ultra Grip assisting your speed. So don't make your level too large. A size 20 level is 65,536 units. Imagine just how long that would take. Mathematically, just over an hour. Anyways, once you get here, right-click the top surface of this unit. Now you're able to push or pull the whole ground, to make the level all solid if that's what you want, or all hollow. Now press E and fall. Eventually, you will fall out, and as a result, you'll respawn in the center. However, the 4 center units weren't there, so don't pull a selection for sky levels. If you do that by accident, you are screwed. Now, save the level. Firstly, enter in a file name you haven't used before. Otherwise, the corresponding level will be overwritten, which is how you update that level. Now enter a title and description. Confirm, and now it's saved on your computer. So, that's very obscure. And yet, this game's developer has probably used this method to make sky levels. And sky levels. And sky levels. Or, they may have had their own way. Maybe they designed default level configuration. And yet, that isn't even the worst of this. Anyways, an image is rendered on each unit surface. The default does not look too good. However, I've made levels that don't have much or any texturing work, and those levels are still interesting. Here's how to change the textures. Select some surfaces, then press the F2 key. You may have to hold the Fn key first though, as those function keys are used for brightness, volume, and other system functions. However, the game does not mention that. How obscure! Anyways, this shows a menu with a few tabs, which each have a bunch of textures. Select one, and it'll be on the surfaces you just selected. Also, you will need to re-press the keys to close the window. I don't remember selecting a texture and not closing the window, but okay. Maybe something changed in macOS that made it stop working. After all, it's not exactly an up-to-date app. And it's also made with an even older Cube 2 game engine. So here's an easier way. Hold down the Y key and scroll. This will scroll through all the textures. It's kind of obscure how this works. However, it's even more obscure how to retexture a level. There's 2 ways to accomplish the first step of that. Select all of the top surface. Or, if you've pulled beyond the midpoint, pull up 2 opposite corners, click on the top of one, and right-click the other one. Now, go to a lower part of the side, and right-click the very corner. This selects an area from the side. Now texture them, and that side of everything in the area is now textured, even at lower grid power. Now you're able to repeat that for all 5 other sides. You can also do this from higher grid power. That will take less time, and it's more optimal. Try to use higher grid power when applicable. That is, if you want to preserve the following aspect of your levels. For instance, here is part of one of my levels. I'm inside of a tunnel here, and now I'm going to zoom out of it inside the wall. To optimize data size, you can choose to optimize the geometry. However, you can see textured surface planes inside the walls. What's more is, well, watch this. It actually collides with the surface. You can actually use that to add content to your levels. Open up the Entities window, then select the tab for teleports. Now you have sliders here for index. If you want to add a teleport, simply select New Teleport. This will spawn one at your selection. So, click on a face where you want to place one. Now select one you want it to lead to. In my case, I'm going to choose this spot inside the wall. Now choose New Destination. Make sure the index value matches though. Otherwise, the teleport will not work. You can spawn any number of teleports in a given index that lead to the same place. However, it is ideal to only have one destination. Otherwise, it's not really clear to me whether it's randomized when you teleport. The index slider is limited to 256. Who would make a level with that many teleports though? I just placed a destination inside the wall, and not too close to hollow space. Otherwise, the marble may be auto-clipped into it. Speaking of entities, there's also materials, level tools, stars, models, sound, and particle effects. However, especially with the stars, it is difficult to place them. Even with the drag selection, selecting the star option will only place one. This makes placement very tedious. So how do they make levels like this one? Select a star by clicking the hitbox. Now use the C key to use the game's copy function. Now select a different thing and hit V. While still not the easiest, this method is way easier. Very obscure though. You can also add rain, snow, and fire the same way. Or trees and other shapes, marbles, power-ups, and audio sources. Speaking of which, here are some functions that don't seem to work right in this game. When you place a sound source, you have to drag the sound index slider to select a sound effect for the sound, even though there's clearly space for two columns under the sliders, so you know what it sounds like without testing all of them. I mean, didn't one of the developers design this UI layout? You can also set two distances. Sure, that's fine. There's also a new hint option. However, once you collect the hint, the menu displays a placeholder, and there's no way to type in a message. This would have added more depth to levels. Well, maybe there is some obscure way, but I digress. There's clearly room for a text field just below. Gravity bubbles. Firstly, they seem way larger in the main levels than they are in custom levels, and yet, there's no apparent way to scale them. Also, the gravity direction is fixed sideways. You cannot change it to upside down or another sideways direction. So basically, the only way to know how to model your level is positioning the bubble before shaping to know what direction to work in when you build the level. Like, if you're just making a level from scratch to see what you can come up with, and then you end up wanting gravity bubbles later, then how? Well, you can use the following trick, which by the way, does not move or rotate entities. Select your level area, right-click the top side, and then hold the R key and scroll to rotate. However, as you can see, it won't rotate entities with it, like gravity bubbles, models, stars, particle effects, etc. Delete all, then replace, or move each one. Interestingly, the same method can also be used to rotate smaller areas. Select one, then right-click any actual side. It seems unfortunate they don't have an interactive instruction process for editing. They have made tutorial videos, but those are videos. There's no real way to learn in-game. No window sequence or anything. I mean, couldn't they have made a tutorial level in the custom tab that shows you how to do these things? They're more skilled than me. They know the way to get gravity bubbles to actually work right in all directions, which several of their levels nicely illustrates. Maybe I could make something like that, as I've become more skilled with it than likely most players. However, there isn't really a point to that because this app is 32-bit, and likely will not update, especially since this game's website does not work anymore. It stopped working before I found a way to share levels. I guess I wasn't nearly as skilled back then. I did want to learn it, but yeah. Also, none of their tutorial videos seem to show you how to share levels. So, the only way to learn that is like through text in an article? Okay. Anyways, I may get to those things in a future video. For now though, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If so, feel free to like it, share it with family and friends, and sub to my channel for more content. If you want to get notifications on new uploads, click on the bell icon after subscribing. I usually try to upload new videos on Saturdays or Sundays. Also, you can check out my channel. To do that, click on my icon or channel name just below the video. For any questions or requests you have, you can let me know in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching.